What's up guys, Designer Bricks back for another video. Today's video we're taking apart this Creality Ender 3S1 Pro's extruder, and this is all because of a comment I got, so feel free to comment down below your ideas for videos or even just questions, and enjoy the video. And if you need, feel free to stop during the video to pause or look at screws or whatever. Well, that was pretty quick. Got that thing off. Now what we do is we want to take these back screws off. So I'll also put that in time lapse. So at this point in the video, which is pretty early on, you're going to want something to keep all your screws in, and even Allen keys. I just use like some of these little tubs. This is like from a little small parts organizer, but now I'm going to get out the rest of the screws. And I am doing this video for beginners, so, and just so you know guys, this can move, but you want to be really careful to not break any of these wires, because that could cause serious issues and result in serious injuries, maybe fire if you plugged it in, something went wrong, or just not even working in the first place. But I'm going to get the rest of those screws undone. Okay, so now you can see this piece came off. But you have to be really careful because this piece right here can break. Like those two little wires can easily break. But what we're going to do now is we're going to unscrew this screw and these screws. So you want to be super careful right here because this is like that. When you're trying to take apart the screws off this fan or take apart get off the fan, you can rip some of these wires. So I peel it like that, and then you can get onto there and take out that screw. So that was pretty easy, and you can see this comes off pretty simply. It does have glue here. You can just take that glue off using a little X-Acto knife, or take it off using a screwdriver or some sort, but you have to be really careful because these connections are super flimsy. I of course already did that, and that's obviously if it comes with glue. Be super careful with these connections, you don't want to rip them. Okay, so we also want to undo all of them actually. And kind of like small needle nose pliers get under that little lip. Bring it around. And then for this one, so at the end of that, you're going to have all these parts. Make sure you don't rip these two wires because it is glued. You can see how it's glued. Be careful with that. That's the heating element, or not the part of it, I think. This is your extruder. Pretty simple. You have your top gear, your motors on here. Bottom of the extruder, Creality, the side fan. And I'm going to take apart this. You're just taking apart the major screws of the extruder assembly, so it's pretty simple. Here you're just taking off that fan assembly, pretty easy, just 2 screws, pretty simple. Here you're going to take off that bracket, which holds the fan. 2 screws simple. Will wiggle out, but this top piece will also wiggle out and shoot springs and stuff out, so you gotta be careful. So here's the extruder assembly. Of course, you have the classic printed ender and the dragon thing symbol. This is your extruder. You can see the springs. You can see that it'll actually just fall out. So you have to be very careful not losing that because that will fall out. And if you do it too hard with it's unconnected, it will open. And you can see all these bearings that will come apart. These gears will come apart. You can see this housing. So you have to be careful. Just remember. And then this adjustment screws to adjust the tension of the spring. I probably need to loosen it. It's probably too tight. That's okay, because I can feel it just is a little hard for that motor probably, so we don't want it to be too hard for the motor, but that's okay. And this is where your clogs are gonna be and stuff like that. And you can see this angle piece right here. Looks pretty good. There's no filament. There's grease, no filament. So I'm going to put this back together. And if you want to buy this 3D printer, comment down below. because I think I will be selling it. It's like new, it's printed quite a bit. Not too many print hours. It's clean. I actually opened up the motherboard and everything, make sure it worked properly. It's completely fine. Worked perfectly. Check the motherboard. One of the connections was loose. Tighten that all up. Make sure all the connections were tight. So also when you're when you're trying to put this back together, I loosen this because it's gonna make your job a lot easier. But you can see now that the tension of the spring is a lot weaker. It's super easy to turn, and that may not be good for the motor, or it might be good for the motor. But now we have to make sure that this clicks. There we go. But slide back in, and it's gonna fall back out, so gotta be careful with that. It's an interesting material. A motor, line up this gear with the bearing right there. Pretty simple. Oh, see, I just lost the right piece. Actually, it's right here. Anyway, putting this back together, you want to line up that bearing and the gear. I just wiggled it like that and it clips back together. Don't put that white piece back in yet because it could fall out like what you saw happen. I think it's just these two. I did not see a third screw on here. Oop. And hand tight's good, and if you want more leverage, guys, just use the other side of that one wrench, but not too tight. This is a plastic piece. This piece right here, this bracket, so you don't want that to break. There we go. Hand tight's good. Don't want to break that bracket. I never saw a screw here, so I wouldn't worry about it if I was you. There is, I think, a screw there, though, and I'm just trying to find that. Right about here, for some reason, I forgot to show you guys me screwing in that part, but that's okay. There is one right there, though. You can see it right there, back there. So yeah, once you get that bracket on, make sure it's flush, which it is. You can clean that motor, that like area right here where the air comes out with like a. Okay. Next step, to have the connection on the same side as the motor, just like that. What you're doing here is you're just screwing back on that motor. Pretty simple, pretty easy. See how that works? And you can see how the piece of the motor, the air will come out right there because you can see the motor right there. And yeah. Now you're just going to take apart that fan housing, pretty easy. What I'm saying here is that the 4 screws, 2 of them are different lengths, so just keep that in mind. Here you're just gonna clean it with a tissue, like a wet tissue, and then dry it off, of course, with a dry tissue, and that's pretty simple and easy. Now put it back together. Once you've cleaned that, you can go ahead and put this back on just like this. The 1 screw side goes on the side with only 1 screw slot, but yep, this is right. That just goes in like that. Now do the same on the other side with 2 screws instead. Now comes the part where you're going to put this white piece back in. And this, you can see, don't lose that white piece. That's why I'm holding on the bottom by the white piece. See, like test fit it. You can see that the fan goes in there. All these come out where they need to go. So that's right. So now what we're going to do is tilt it upside down, just like that. And then this one says F2. F2 says it goes. This is fan 1, fan 2, F1, F2. Does that make sense? And now do that for the rest of the connections. Just like that, and just put these 2 other screws top right in here. Okay, once you have all those connected, what you're going to do now is make sure that white piece is still in there and push that on there. Push that down. And you're going to get your screws one screw that looks like this. And you're gonna put it, this round one doesn't go in yet. Grab this screw-like one. Push it through on the right side. And just start screwing it in. Don't screw it in all the way, but just start screwing it in. Like that much. Okay, now, once you have that on there, this screw is one of these. We'll come back to that one, but I think it's this one. So what you're gonna do is, yeah, it's that one. Stick that through there. Stick that through. Make sure to tighten these all the way. Of this will take a screwdriver. Of course, these 4 screws that go on the front are the Phillips, and they are the black ones. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna get them in there. But the first warning though is that if you do see this and you're like, oh, how am I gonna get that in there? Because of that fan, yeah, it still works. It's fine. Just be careful and just hand tight. And there's your extruder built and fully built, and that's your tutorial for it. Pretty simple. Yeah, that's all you need to know. And then after that, just these screws in the back fit, and then it just goes like that. Super easy, super simple. And then of course you put in the side screws, which are the rest of my bin. And there you go. That's how you fit an extruder and take it apart. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching my videos. Really appreciate it.